Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome to the 8th Annual Raven Award nominations announcement. Tonight, we're going to go through the official nominees for this year's Raven Awards. Our Oscars boycott continues. Crazy that we're now 8 years on in this process. Always a good time, always lots of things going on, and it's going to be a fun one. We've got some very interesting nominees this evening. There was clearly a lot of pushes in various categories for certain films and projects and people even as well. And some of them were successful, some of them were not. And we're going to find out who and what is nominated this evening. We, of course, are going to talk to our people in the chat this evening before getting things started, but I also wanted to thank everyone who did submit nominations for this year's Raven Awards because, yeah, there can be no official ballot. There can be no actual voting unless there are nominees to vote for. And y'all were awesome with this, whether it was those that participated in that running shortlist that started January of last year, right, January of 2025, and we'll have something similar happening as we get going on with this year as well. We'll get our running live list going at some point in the future. Of course, my focus is right now on this year's Raven Awards, but it's always good to get those things taken care of and to get those things kind of planned out ahead of time, so that way we don't have to worry about kind of falling behind on those things. And so I just wanted to, again, thank everyone who nominated in that short list, but then also the official nominations form as well. We had a lot of really cool nominations. Of course, most of the films on that short list got a little bit more attention than others, but there were definitely a lot of write-ins that had a lot of love. It was definitely hard to break through and to break down in some categories because when people are having to type out their own responses, people word things differently, and some people decided to give me a whole little speech to explain, oh, I really wanted to vote for this movie, blah, blah, blah. It's like, just list the movie. You don't have to give me an explanation. So, but we did it. We were able to get through those lists and get ourselves an official nomination list that we will go over tonight. So, yes, we are in the Ravens season officially this evening. And it is very fitting, as tonight, of course, we are used to coming here already on these Monday evenings for the Welcome to Asgard podcast. And in the case of this evening, we, of course, recognize that we are right now already 593 episodes in to the Welcome to Asgard podcast lifetime. So again, thank you all for listening to this 593rd Welcome to Asgard podcast. And also, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're probably going to be listening to this much later, as I have fallen behind quite a bit in uploading these as podcasts to Spotify, as I used to be able to do much more consistently. But as you all know, once the school year starts, things get a bit crazy. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the chat and then jump into our nominations. We do have some Rumble rants, however, that I will have to get to first, from our very consistent donator over there, Guillermo Gage. So Guillermo Gage, thank you very much for the $3 Rumble rant saying, last minute Raven, best movie of 2025 guesses. So this is what Guillermo Gage thinks is going to make it onto the list. He says, F1, Sinners, Weapons, Relay, Black Bag, The Naked Gun, Demon Slayer, Infinity Castle, Warfare, and The Life of Chuck. That's a very eclectic group of movies there. He then goes on for another Rumble rant saying, and then maybe a Minecraft movie will get enough votes for the 10th nominee. I don't know. Yes, lots of different ways that this could all pan out. Lots of different combinations of things. So thank you again, Guillermo Gage. Now let me jump back to the beginning of the stream, before the stream even started. And of course, we have Laura, the Mother Major General story, my mod, my champion, the mother of the channel, as I always like to say. Shorty Short saying here, first, yes, indeed, she was first. We got Snortapoopus, Cuber, hello, humans and other quitteth. And then he says, hello, Snortapoopus. Always great to have you here. We got Kimberly G, Killian Shadow Cat, or as now with the YouTube at names, Gandalf1477. What's going on, Kimberly G? welcome back. The band of the Banjo Sandwich fame saying the new Game of Thrones show was good. I haven't seen it yet. I was not able to catch up with it today, even though obviously we were off of work today. The kids were off of school. Because the kids were off of school, did not really have a lot of extra time. And most of my extra time, unfortunately, or fortunately, really depends on, I guess, how you look at it, has been really been eaten up by Arc Raiders. I've been playing so much Arc Raiders. It's crazy. So it's been a lot of fun, though. And it's even crazier now because one of the missions for this week, right? One of the things that you can like gain free stuff for is doing damage to certain types of Arc enemies, right? These basically like these robot enemies, and it's specifically the Matriarch and Queen maps. And those were already ones where sometimes you could jump on and, people would within like 5-10 minutes be able to destroy them. Now I had one of the first games I played this morning ever since this new mission has gone live. I want to say it got taken down within about 3 minutes, which is one of the fastest times that I've ever seen. And it's because people were just spamming certain types of weapons and stuff. There's certain like remote explosives that work really well. Anyway, if you care at all about Arc Raiders, most of y'all probably don't. Jeremy Zakowski, what's going on, good sir? Saying, evening, Odin and everyone on here. Hopefully this time around there will be no double post from me. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sometimes technology works against us. Wendy Hunter. Wendy, what's going on, Wendy? Saying, Odin chat, looking forward to tonight's stream. I am as well. Always exciting when we get to Raven Awards season. Wendy Hunter saying, I hope everyone is doing well. Yes, indeed. Hope everyone is indeed. Prince Screen hanging out. Hail Odin chat. What's going on, Prince Screen? Welcome back. We got Bruce hanging out in the chat as well. What's going on, Bruce? Hail to you, Forever Sci-Fi, who is a member here on the channel. Hail to you, Prince Screen and Wendy, both members as well. Of course, Nora Poopus Cuber and also Kimberly G, Killing Shadow Cat. All a bunch of members here tonight. We got for Forever Sci-Fi, right, again, hanging out. We got Icthulu. It's been a little bit. Icthulu, what's going on, man? Saying, hello, Odin in chat. So glad 2025 is over. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty crazy year. But there's always ups and downs when it comes to these things. What I will say is what this year's Raven nominations, right, the submissions that I was seeing, and you'll see it play out in some of the results too. Let's just say I had to expand several categories this year. Meaning there's going to be more than the typical 5 nominees in a lot of categories. And most of it is on the negative side. Basically, that there were so many bad things that just got so much love and support. There were, of course, some ties, and there were also ones where you're like, okay, come on. Got to include those in there. But it was much more in the negative camp. So much so also, right, know how normally we've got our 10 nominees for Best Picture. It was very, very hard really getting to that number, especially this year, because it's hard to really think of 10 movies that almost like fit that. I mean, there were movies that we all enjoyed and everything, but Best Movie of the Year, it was a lot harder, I think, for a lot of people to kind of come up with that list. It was very easy for people to nominate for the worst film of the year, right? Our Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder award for excellence in crap world building. Let's just say that has expanded quite a bit. I want to say there's 9 nominees this year. That's right, 9. Don't worry, I'm not going to make y'all rank choice vote that one. We'll leave that one for Best Picture only, and it'll be a headache only for you. I think with Form Bricks, though, which we'll be using for the ballot as well, I need to finalize the ballot, and that will probably go live tomorrow. With the ranking, it should be a little bit more intuitive. There's actual like numbers that show up. So basically, the one you want to be number 1 is the first one you click, and then the next one is number 2, and then you can like switch them pretty easily. I know in the past it's been Google Forms, and you've had to be like, oh, you have to list like every column and every row, and every column's number has to be picked. And it got very confusing, and I think it also got very annoying for a lot of people. This one should be a lot better. So the negative side still to Form Bricks is that it doesn't like save your responses with the way that I have it set up. But no bots this time around with the nominations, which was very nice. It made the whole math side of things, of adding things up and choosing nominees so much easier this year without having to just eliminate and delete all of the spam that had happened last year, especially. Man, it was crazy then. All right, let's see. The Morak says, hello, Odin and chat. Let's talk Ravens. Yes, indeedy. Mr. Roy, hello. What's going on, Mr. Roy? Hail to you. General Wingster, a member here as well. Mr. Roy, one of my chosen of Valhalla. We got the Morak hanging out. What's going on? General Wingster saying, where's the polar bear? Ah, there he is. Am I a polar bear? And then gives pats. Vivander 807. what is going on? Welcome back. Let's see here. We got to those comments already. Banjo Sandwich getting very excited for the Ravens. Always one of the biggest supporters of the Ravens. Wendy Hunter. Wendy saying, love the intro. Yeah, that was one that we found last year. And I like it. It's simple. It's nothing too fancy. And it gets the message across. It's a raven standing on the grave of the Oscars. I think that's great. The Oscars is for the birds. Or for the ravens, one could say. Quote the Raven, nevermore. We got Kimberly G saying, I did like the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, lighthearted so far. That's what I've, again, been hearing good things. General Wingster, I couldn't nominate Odin. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That's okay. I was actually surprised at how little of a campaign there was against me this year. Though I did get one random nomination for NPC of the year, which I thought was interesting. Because normally, we have the Shill of the year, which is where we get a lot of interesting nominations and such. But even for NPC this year, I was like, oh, interesting. Very interesting. Thanatos Felicitas. Hello, Odin. Hello to you. Welcome. Brian Barth says, hail, Odin. Long time no see. Indeed. Where you been, man? Where you been? We got Geek Truth 64 saying, it's Odin. What's going on, Geek Truth? Welcome back. Cthulhu. Had to say, yeah, I dipped out because I hated all the movies that came out, and I like you and chat for the positive. God bless, and 2026 looks much better. Well, hey, thank you for coming back, man. And, yeah, even though there's going to be a lot of bad movies for us to talk about from 2025, there's, of course, going to be a lot of fun had along the way. We got Prince Screen hanging out, saying it's good to see there's more nominees this year since last year. We came up short on a few. Yeah, and that's how it has been. In most years, there's a few categories where it's just like we can't even get a full slate of even 5 nominees because so few people actually vote, and then the choices. I think one thing that's helped a lot, and it helped last year too, but most especially this year, was having that running nomination form, right? Where you could just, anytime starting in the very beginning of last year, start to put nominations in while they're fresh on your brain. And then that creates that short list. And then when I put the nominations form out there's a few on there. And it's not like those are set in stone. It's just more of like, oh, here are films and people that, various people had mentioned throughout the year. And so either, accept that or write your own nominations in. I think that helped quite a bit to kind of help people focus their minds a little bit. So I think that's definitely helped with that problem. Shorty Short saying, I don't want to spoil the Night of the Seven Kingdoms show, but there was a fantastic diss to Game of Thrones at the start of the episode. Ooh, okay. Very nice. Caveat Ty's hanging out. He's very excited because he really wants Blaine to get a nomination tonight. I can only imagine for what category. I can only imagine. Maggie Dreamer saying, the Raven Awards are greater than the Baltimore Ravens. Man. King Rumsey saying, different dog today. No, it's the same. It's the same dog. It's the same dog. That's still Willow. She's the only one that ever goes up into that chair. I think River's gone up there maybe a few times, but usually on stream it's almost always her. If she even goes up there. Sometimes I have stuff on the chair and like it freaks her out, and so she's like, nope, no thank you. Short saying, the he's flying scene at the end of F1 was my favorite moment of last year. Nice. Alrighty. Well, I've caught up with the chat, everybody, so you know what that means. All right. It means it is this time. And hopefully, I normally have my kids, baby camera stuff up so that way I can keep an eye. It looks like my daughter's passed out, which is good. My son, however, is his typical self where it's like, nope, I'm not asleep yet. So hopefully everything's fine. If there's a little knock at the door, I might have to pull up the camera once again. But hey, this is what we do. All right, this is what we do. But you guys ready? I think y'all are ready. I know I'm ready. Now, even though this is not happening at this moment, okay, I do think that because we're not talking box office tonight, it is important for us to let's just go ahead and get things started off on the right foot, okay? Because we want to be in a positive mood.
Time to see a real mathematician at work!
That's right. It's not time for any math tonight because tonight we have the 8th annual Raven Award nominations. Okay, so tonight, again, it's going to be all about those noms, all about the nominations. And as I mentioned, the ballot to vote for your favorite or least favorite in any of these categories will go live sometime tomorrow, as tomorrow we have a day where basically the grade I teach is going to be doing like a college thing all day. So I'll have a lot more free time. And so I'll be able to actually like sit down and do some work. So I'll have to do my schoolwork, prioritize, and then I should have some extra time to be able to finalize the ballot link and then get that sent out. So just pay attention to the YouTube community tab, to X, and also, of course, to the Discord server where I post all of these various things. But yes, crazy. It's been 8 years, right? The 8th annual Raven Awards. And let's go ahead and just get things started off. And I don't have any video packages this year because I always get hit with copyright crap. It's just the most ridiculous thing. And so I might try, obviously, to, leading up to the Ravens themselves to get a compilation video, especially of we have categories that are amazing, right? I think that it's always a fun show. We have our favorite one-liner and quote of the year. We have, of course, also the best fight scene. And I like to always, especially with the fight scenes, have clips for us to kind of get an idea of what was going on and everything. But yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Let's go ahead right into the live chat just to see where everyone is right now. General Wingster saying, math? Let's go, says Winnie Hunter. Cthulhu, there's always math. Counting ballots is math. This is very true. It's a very true statement. It took a lot of math, a lot of brain power to actually get there. Guillermo Gage, before we even get started, a Rumble rant here for $2 saying, perhaps the person who nominated you for NPC of the year intended to say shill of the year and got it mixed up, even though you don't qualify as either. Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. The Banjo Sandwich is ready. He's always ready. He's always ready. All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive into it. Make sure it's on the right screen. So we get started off with always a very fun category. We have our best one-liner / quote of the year. So our nominees this year are as follows. We have, first, from Final Destination Bloodlines, I intend to enjoy the time I have left, and I suggest you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck. This quote being from an actor who passed away, actually. These were the last words that he mentioned, that he said on screen. Very fitting for him, just in his own life. So obviously got a lot of attention there. But Final Destination Bloodlines gets a nomination. I need you to trust me one last time for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Chicken Jockey from the Minecraft movie. A lot of love for the Minecraft movie out there. If my life is coming to an end, I really can't complain. I've had a great life. This is from the Ozzy No Escape From Now documentary. Again, very prophetic words there. And lastly, once again from a Minecraft movie, I am Steve. Those are our nominees this year for the best one-liner and quote. Very interesting combination of films. All right, we got Final Destination Bloodlines in there, Mission Impossible. We got the 2 Minecraft movie nominations, so you probably already see early on. Okay, there's some love for the Minecraft movie out there. And then a surprise one was actually the one from Ozzy. This one kind of came out of nowhere a little bit and got a lot of support, and indeed got officially nominated. So those are our nominations for best one-liner and quote. Let's move on now to best stunt work. So what movies had the best stunt team, some of the best stunts that we saw in 2025? And the nominees are Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, Ballerina from the universe of John Wick, from the world of John Wick, Fight or Flight with, was it Josh Hartnett? F1, Primitive War, and as I mentioned, some categories got a lot of love, and so we expanded them a little bit, and so this year we have 6 nominees for best stunt work, and so our 6th nomination for best stunt work goes to Warfare. Congratulations to all of the nominations here. Lots of really great stunts. A couple films I have not, one film specifically I have not seen, in Primitive War. It's on my list, been on my list for a very long time. But lots of very good stunts all around. Even though I think Ballerina disappointed a lot of us, I think no one could deny that the stunts were not still pretty cool for the most part. So Yes, those are our nominations for Best Stunt Work. All right, Best Animated Movie. We had some good stuff happening in the world of animation last year when it comes to the animes and such, though that's kind of a bit out of my wheelhouse. But luckily, we have many people out there that watch them and love those movies and put them on my radar, in addition to many other people's radar as well. And so we've got a very interesting collection of nominations here for Best Animated Film. So our Best Animated Movies of 2025 are K-Pop Demon Hunters from Netflix, Chainsaw Man, the movie, Res Arc, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Infinity Castle, Ninja 2, out of China, the one that they claim made, $2 billion in China alone or something to that effect. David from Angel Studios, and yes, another category with 6 nominees this year. I was very happy to see this one slip in there, and that is, of course, Dogman. If you've not seen Dogman, I recommend it. My son, actually both my kids are obsessed with that film right now. It's actually very well made. It's got a lot of meta humor, which is very funny, very entertaining. Much better than I think you would think. And as a parent, I appreciate the movie that it is. So yeah, very interesting collection here of nominations. Of course, K-Pop Demon Hunters was the one that really took the world by storm. So clearly a lot of love there for that film. And then you had the anime fans, right? So Chainsaw Man got a lot of love. Demon Slayer got some love. There was definitely some support for Ninja 2. So clearly there is an audience for that. David got some love there. And then Dogman got some right at the very end. So very cool to see. So those are our nominees this year for Best Animated Movie. Let's move on here to NPC of the Year, one of the big categories. We have this announced earlier in the evening in order for us to try to build things up a little bit. But yeah, these are these nominees who, let's just say, are mindless. Or at least that was the intention. The intention behind these nominations was that these are supposed to be mindless drones who just say whatever it is that they are told, okay? I will say early on, before the nominations are out there, I will say not in hindsight, but I will just preemptively say apologies to one of the nominations on this list. I do have to apologize to at least one of the nominations on this list because I don't think they should be on here. But again, this is not what I think. This is what you, the people, think. And so clearly there are some things that have led to this person being put onto the list. It should be very clear once it happens. But again, I want to preemptively say I am sorry and I apologize for this person being put on the list for NPC of the Year. Again, not me. I would not have put you on this list, but the people have spoken. So our nominees for NPC of the Year. This is across all media, not just movies. So our nominees are Jimmy Kimmel. Hopefully y'all appreciate the photo I have of him there. Jimmy Kimmel. Robert Meyer Burnett. RMB. RMB, again, I'm sorry. I will say right now. Russell T. Davies. Pedro Pascal. And lastly, Stephen Colbert. So congratulations to all of the NPCs on there. But again, with the one exception being RMB, again, apologies, good sir. Again, don't know why. There was a huge portion of people that just kept putting your name on there, man. And again, I don't like it. I don't like it. But those are our nominees, and I think almost everyone on this list deserves to be there. Of course, Jimmy Kimmel is one of the key NPCs, right? One of the mouthpieces of Hollywood and the state, or at least formerly of the state. Russell T. Davies, just, man, talk about a guy who used to be able to make some really good, Doctor Who content, just flying off the rails. Pedro Pascal, of course, has been off the rails as well. But I think, for me, the one to beat this year, I think that the battle is going to have to be between Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. I really do, because, man, those are two people that just perfectly encapsulate what this category is all about, right? And I think that those two especially deserve to be on this list. And it'll be interesting to see the battle that happens. But those are nominees for NPC of the Year. And again, I will say it one more time, R&B, I am sorry that the people voted you on there. I did not want that to happen, but unfortunately, it did. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on now to Best Visual Effects. All right, we'll go ahead and jump into our comments in a little bit. But best visual effects, the nominees for this year are F1, Tron, Ares. Interesting to see this film on here. Primitive War, Avatar, Fire and Ash, and Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. So again, it's not my list because Avatar got a positive praise here. Even I, right, can say, yeah, the visual effects clearly deserve some praise. And so again, always interesting to see the films that kind of slip in here in different ways. Tron Ares, again, a film that is getting universally panned, and we'll see throughout the night. Does not get a lot of love, but visual effects. Apparently, the visual effects must have been pretty good because it did indeed get some nominees. I had to turn off Heimdall's message though because he is still saying to put your nominations out there. The nominations are over. The nominations are over. That's why we're reading them right now. So anyway. All right, let's do best cinematography, and then we'll jump into the chat for a second. So best cinematography, the nominees for this year are Claudia Miranda for the film F1, Wade Muller for Primitive War. Primitive War got a lot of love this year. Autumn Durald Arcapa for Sinners. Dan Lauston for Frankenstein. And David J. Thompson for the film Warfare. Congratulations to all the nominees. Again, a lot of beautiful cinematography in this list here. Even though I was not the biggest fan of Sinners, I think it was shot very well. But, Sinners obviously got a lot of love in this. So those are our nominees for Best Cinematography. So we'll take our first break in the nominations to see what y'all have to say in the chat before jumping back into it. A lot of interesting things being said. Let's see. Prince Screen saying, looks like the Gen Alphas got a hold of the nominations this year. It's all fun and games until the Skibbity Toilet movie comes out. This is all true. Jess Pena says, ahoy, ahoy to you. Icthulu is a member saying, okay, now we all know that Ariana Grande deserves best stunt work for shooing away that helicopter. Dang. Wow. Jonah Wingster saying, Chinese bots, I accept no other reason. Again, if we're talking about for Ninja 2, again, I think that there are people out there, normal people, who actually do like it. So, Jenna Wingster said, play the sorry clip. But the clips have been so inconsistent recently, I don't even want to try. I'd rather say it myself. So that's why I say, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Geek64 saying, whoever nominated RMB is insane. I totally agree. Does not deserve to be on that list. Drives me crazy. Drives me so crazy. All right, we got Kincaid and Rumsky hanging out over on the Green Machine saying, that's the Raven stuff. Yes, indeedy. Great to have you back, as always. Thank you for being here. All right, let's see. Banjo Sandwich saying, RMB OMG again. Yeah. Jen Wingster, they're not even funny anymore. Talking about the late night host. Agreed. Forever Sci-Fi. Kimmel might have won that with his Christmas speech, not the United Kingdom. His Christmas speech to the United Kingdom. Oh, man, yeah. Mike Dreamer said Campia would have made more sense than Robert Meyer Burnett. I totally agree. But the numbers are what they were. And there were a lot of people that were putting his name on that list. I didn't like it, but I can't control the people, unfortunately. Wendy Hunter saying, I barely saw movies in 2025. Hard to know what to vote for. Yeah. I also, whenever the Ravens happen, I do have watch parties on my Discord. So if you've not joined the Discord, check the top link in the video description for my link tree. And you can find a link to the Discord server. Join that. Make yourself known so that way I know who is who, right? Usually if you have a name similar to your YouTube name, so that way I can just make those connections. And I try to get some of those set up as we move ahead towards the Ravens. That way people have an opportunity to watch films that they maybe previously had not gotten the chance to see. We got Hardwick hanging out. What's going on, man? Says, I watched Real Steel from 2011 for the first time Saturday night. I thought it was very good. A very underrated film. I would actually agree. Very underrated. Geek64 saying, I liked F1 a lot, but not great effects comparatively speaking. Primitive War, good effects for a budget. Tron wasn't good, but better effects than F1. Avatar, objectively, best effect. I mean, yeah, I think that's where a lot of people are probably heading, but it'll be interesting to see because it's not always about what you think is objectively the best effects. Sometimes it's about what are the best use of effects. Because again, I haven't seen Primitive War, but I imagine a lot of the love for that movie is coming from just how they were using those effects. The Morak saying, I still haven't seen Warfare. It's in my list, but I just haven't been in the right mood for it. It's definitely one you got to be in the right mood for because it's a rough watch. I mean, soldiers, soldiers at war. Clearly, there's going to be a lot of death and destruction. It's just, yeah. Johnny Skinwalker saying, I'm imagining things or you're growing your hair back. Am I imagining things or you're growing your hair back? No, I just haven't had a chance to shave. It's a process sometimes, so. J.S. Pena saying, I wouldn't apologize to R&B. The guy says some great stuff, such as defending Predator Badlands, and believe it or not, he's actually friends with John Campea. But here's the thing, J.S. Pena, right? Just because he's friends with somebody does not mean that we automatically disown him or that somehow that makes him a terrible person. I mean, think about one of the coolest things about like polar opposite friendships or friendships with people that are not necessarily the most popular is it shows you, right, that there's more to a person than just what the public persona is. I think one of the coolest friendships in history for the United States, at the very least, is the relationship between, Antonin Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The fact that they were like best friends and yet polar opposites ideologically, that to me is like, that was like the friendship that we honestly should have like held on to and been like, man, we can be friends. We can still get along. So yeah, I will still apologize, man, because again, he's never done anything bad to me. And just because he defends and likes a film like Predator Badlands, I mean, come on. That doesn't make him an NPC. Geek True 64 saying, these people voting for RMB just hate that he uses AI. Mindless AI haters are true NPCs. I'm feeling salty today. Dang, man. Absolutely. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump. Keep your hair alive. It is alive. It's on my face. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into our nominations, okay? So we finished off with Best Cinematography. Again, very great group. Now, if we were the Oscars, we would be pointing things out like, I think this is the first nomination in Raven's history where a female has been nominated for a Raven for cinematography. But that doesn't matter. Who cares? It's all about what is actually being put on screen. So we won't do that same thing and be like, oh my goodness, look at all of the change and hope that we have. No. It's all about, again, the quality of the work. And I didn't like Sinners. It was well shot. All right, let's go ahead now, move on to most SJW screenwriters. These are the screenwriters, they're not just like bad screenwriters, not just bad at storytelling. They're just SJW, right? They are just the epitome of just over-politicized schlock, right? Everything bleeds through. Everything they write, they cannot hide the fact that they are of a certain persuasion. So we'll go ahead and just go through these nominees. So the nominees for most SJW screenwriters this year are Tasha Huo for Red Sonja, Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Simon Utley, Paul Andrew Williams, and Matthew Orton for Cleaner, Russell T. Davies for Doctor Who, and Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. Very interesting list once again. And we actually have one of the first, I think, where a TV show actually made it onto this list. Now, look, typically screenwriters, we're looking for movies, but Russell T. Davies got a lot of nominations here, and I felt very much compelled to follow the voice of the people because, yeah, I think that it definitely was a terrible thing to see. What's happened with Doctor Who. Obviously, Doctor Who has been on the downward trend for a long time now, but he definitely did not help. Many people had some hope when he returned. Oh, maybe he'll return to the former glory days. And no, he did not. No, he did not. So yeah, Russell T. Davies getting a nomination here, a first television show getting nominated for most SJW screenwriters at the Raven Awards. So congratulations to all of the nominations here. All right, then we have our Best Director, another one that we'd like to have a little bit earlier in the evening as well. So a lot of very interesting films this past year with some pretty good direction all around. And so let's go ahead and get right to it. The Best Director nominations for this year's Ravens are Joseph Kosinski for F1, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, Len Wiseman for Ballerina, Luke Spark for Primitive War, Scott Derrickson for The Black Phone 2. And yes, indeed, another category with 6 nominees. Our 6th nominee this year is Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland for Warfare. Both were co-directors on the film. Alex Garland, of course, having the film background. Ray Mendoza being a veteran, having the war background itself. And that combination worked so well together and created a phenomenal movie. So I think a very solid list here of nominees. Black Phone 2, I don't think was as good as Black Phone 1, but again, Scott Derrickson was getting some support here. Interesting to see Len Wiseman here as a director. Again, Ballerina, I think, didn't really live up to what a lot of us had hoped it to be. I still overall had a positive experience with it, but again, definitely got a little bit of love there. And Primitive War, once again, Primitive War, as I said, got a lot of love throughout the nomination process this year. So congratulations to our nominees for Best Director at this year's Raven Awards. All right, let's go now through the best fight scene / action sequence of 2025, right? So these are what many people thought were the best scenes. And again, we'll have videos, hopefully, for the actual Raven Awards show themselves. But for now, we'll just have how the scene is described, or at least how it was described by those nominating the sequence, and also the film that it was a part of. So our nominees for our best fight scene of the year are from Fight or Flight, gun on a plane scene. From Primitive War, the T-Rex couple versus commies. And that's how it kept coming up. The T-Rex couple versus the communists or versus the commies. So, yeah, look it up on YouTube. It's interesting. Ballerina for the flamethrower fight scene. I remember that scene. It's very, very good. The Thunderbolts save civilians. Primitive War, the final showdown with the Utah Raptors. So 2 for Primitive War here. And lastly, the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning biplane fight scene. Honestly, one of the coolest things to come out this year was that biplane fight scene. Unfortunately, the rest of the film was pretty mediocre. That fight scene and that action sequence, though, of Tom Cruise actually on this plane and actually, doing all these things was just phenomenal. It was amazing. And kudos to all the pilots involved, too, in that process. One of which, of course, is Tom Cruise himself. So, again, very, very cool stuff there. Very interesting, though, that Thunderbolts actually got a nomination here. Again, I was not a big fan of that movie. I would not have put it really in my mind for any positive things, but apparently a lot of people at the very least thought that the scene of them saving the civilians was one of the best action sequences this year. So, again, we let the people speak and we let their voices be heard in this matter. So congratulations to all the nominees for best fight scene action sequence. And I will try to provide links at the very least in the ballot for people to be able to actually watch the fight scenes themselves if they're available. Most of them, unfortunately, don't have the full scenes available because obviously they want you to actually buy the movie and watch the whole movie instead. But yeah, man, very cool to see Mission Impossible get on this list. All right. Our next category is our breakthrough / standout performance. So this is actually a change. So in the past, it's just been the breakthrough performance of the year. In the past and consistently, right, throughout the process, though, people have not just nominated people that they thought were breaking through for the first time, but also those that just had standout performances. So it could be people who have not previously been noticed or people who have been and just really stood out this year. And so what I've decided to do is to rename it. So going forward, it's going to be, just the standout performance of the year. But for this year, since it's a transition year, it's going to be the breakthrough / standout performance. I just think that makes a little bit more sense, and it pretty much matches what most people's nominations mindset is. And it really just include both, right? Because if you're breaking through in your performance, then you're standing out. And you don't have to be, breaking through for the first time to be a stand-up performing either. So anyway, just wanted to explain that change there. So our breakthrough standout performances of the year are Lewis Pullman for Thunderbolts, Wyatt Russell for Thunderbolts, Nick Offerman for the film Sovereign, Richard Harmon for Final Destination Bloodlines, and Josh O'Connor for Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out. Again, very interesting nominations in this category. Again, a lot of love for Thunderbolts here, interestingly enough. Nick Offerman getting some love too. But yeah, to get the Richard Harmon Final Destination Bloodlines was interesting. If anyone's ever watched The 100, he was a major character on that show and did a very good job in that show. And then also, I've heard good things from a lot of people about the latest Knives Out film. I obviously can't stand either of the first two movies. Of course, we know Rian Johnson is the one behind those movies, but apparently this one isn't terrible. And apparently Josh O'Connor did a really good job in the film, so he got a lot of love here. So again, congratulations to all of our nominees for this year's Breakthrough Standout Performance, and for the future, the name will be just the best standout performance of the year. All right. Our next nomination is for Worst Writing / Story in Film. So the worst writers, not just SJWs, not just political, but just really bad at writing movies and writing movie scripts. So our nominees for worst writing, the worst story in film, are Jurassic World Rebirth, Red Sonja, The Electric State, oh man, that one, Predator Badlands, and Captain America Brave New World. Congratulations to some of the worst written films of 2025. This was a very, very competitive category. There was no clear number 6 spot here, though, so that's why there's only 5 nominees, but there easily could have been more than that, right? There was just a lot. Everything else was pretty much spread around. Most of the focal point, most of the nominees were going for these movies really specifically. So yeah, some of the worst writing absolutely this year. I've seen Rebirth, which was awful. Electric State, which was bad. Badlands, which also from the beginning I hated. And then of course Brave New World was also bad. So I think it really one of the best put together categories. I saw at the very beginning of Red Sonja, and then as soon as I got kind of this PETA messaging kind of thing, environmentalism stuff, it's like, really? Man. Couldn't even watch the rest of it. But apparently a lot of other people felt that same way here of the story just not being any good. So congratulations to our worst writing / story of the year nominees. All right, we'll do this one, and then we'll take another break. It should be our last break before we get to the biggest categories of the evening. And we take a break on one of the biggest, again, I would say one of the biggest categories of the evening. And that's, what is our most iconic film of the year? These are films that people thought, hey, these are films that are going to be remembered for years to come. These are going to be the most standout films in 2025, the ones that we'll go back to and keep talking about for a long time. All right. And so our nominees for most iconic film of the year are Warfare, F1, Frankenstein, Weapons, and the film Sinners. Congratulations for our most iconic films of the year. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Sinners, but it's definitely a film that got a lot of people talking, made a lot of box office, so I totally understand why it got some nominations here. Makes a lot of sense to me. Again, you don't have to like a film to realize that there's a certain iconic element to it. Weapons as well. Surprised a lot of people. Got a lot of people talking. Frankenstein, obviously, also. A lot of people really enjoyed that film. F1, of course. And then Warfare. All right, probably one of the smaller of the films on this list, but still, I think definitely deserving because of just how impactful the film was in that way. So congratulations to our nominees for most iconic film of the year. And let's jump back into the chat just to see what y'all have been saying about our nominations. All right, let's see. Vivander, thank you again for being here. Geek True 64, who's a member, saying RMB is the opposite of NPC. He appears on very different channels. I don't always agree with his takes, but I like hearing his opinions, and his Trek knowledge is insane. Absolutely. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of Star Trek. I would say is a Star Trek expert, and I think that that's something that cannot be understated. And I totally agree. Right? People mention it's like, oh, but he's friends with John Campy. He's also friends with Gary Nerdronic. He's also friends with a lot of other people that are on the complete opposite end of things. And so, if anything, that just kind of speaks more to his character than anything else. Vivander saying, I love it when R&B riffs on Trek. There you go. J.S. Pena says, all right, fine. And again, I can't change your own opinion of him. It's just if we're talking about someone who's an NPC, it means mindless, brainless. Stephen Colbert fits that perfectly. Jimmy Kimmel fits that perfectly. I wouldn't say R&B fits that in any way, because it's not just about disagreeing with somebody. It's about, again, are they actually thinking through their things? Doesn't mean that they're always right. Doesn't mean that they are, have their best takes all the time. But I think there's clearly a separation. I would hope that we could at the very least be like, okay, there's very much a massive separation between the Kimmels, the Colberts, and R&B. Come on, guys. Jenna Wingster saying, I would call them affirmative action screenwriters. I like that. I like that a lot. Cthulhu said, didn't mean to hit enter. Sorry. It's okay. Wendy Hunter saying, R.I.P. Doctor Who. I was a big fan when it was good. Me too. Oh, me too. Geek Truth 64 is a member saying, I am impressed with that Luke Spark was able to accomplish what Luke Spark was able to accomplish with Primitive War. He was on Film Threat last year talking about the film. That's awesome. J Nash 317, hail to you. Thank you for keeping the old culture alive. Prince Green saying, for me, the submarine sequence was greater than the biplane sequence. I don't know, man. Again, I'm not saying that it wasn't impressive stuff happening in that submarine sequence, but the biplane, it felt much more real. It felt like there were a lot less effects, I guess. And because it was during the day, like everything's so clear, it's not like it doesn't have the murkiness of the water. I don't know. I just, that sequence just sticks with my mind. J.S. Pena, I think the only disappointing part about the biplane scene was the villain's death because of how random it was. I totally agree with you there. But the stunt work was phenomenal. I think that that's something we can definitely agree on. Let's see. Micah Dreamer at 810 saying, I just recently saw Sovereign on Hulu a couple weeks ago. That film could have been in my top 10 of the year if I had seen it last year. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have been really speaking to Sovereign. It was getting a lot of support. So definitely it's on my list of things to check out. Geek64 saying, Rebirth was the only one of those 5 nominees I saw. It was terribly written. Oh, yes. I would not recommend watching any of the other ones. K.K. Rumsky, who is watching over on the Green Machine. Does this mean I should watch Thunderbolts? No. No, it does not. K.K. Rumsky then saying, by your best guesstimate, what would you say was the ratio of good, bad movies in 2025? At least 2-1. Bad to good. Like, there were so many more bad films than there were good films, unfortunately. I think we'll see that too when we go through the best and worst of 2025. So, yeah. I would definitely say that for sure. All right. Let's jump back into it. Let's get through our last nominations. We still have some way to go, but we're getting there. All right. We're like more than halfway at this point. So let's go ahead and get through the rest. I don't know why. Why'd you do that? There we go. Okay. This is a change from last year. So last year, from 2 years ago, remember last year we had decided to change the category. This used to be the most pointless character. And we decided as a community to change it to most annoying character in film. I was like when the categories evolve, but they stay the same, right? The spirit, the soul of the category is always the same, though the name might change, right? And so these are our most annoying characters in film for 2025. The nominees are Valentina Allegra de Fontaine from Thunderbolts, Thea from Predator Badlands, Steve from a Minecraft movie, Ted Garcia from Eddington, and Julian Dillinger from Tron Ares. So a very interesting collection here. I would definitely agree with the Minecraft film. I could not stand that whole, it's just so stupid, everything about it. But hey, the kids love it for some reason. Steve, though, the whole thing is like, really? Like, come on, guys. Didn't get through enough of Predator Badlands to really get a good, take on Thea in that performance, but I heard that it was very annoying. And then I definitely can confirm that the performance there of Valentina Allegra definitely is up there. Now, what is interesting, right, is, you have Pedro Pascal, Ted Garcia's character from Eddington get nominated, but interestingly enough, you did not have Snow White. And I think it's just because so many people just did not watch that movie. Remember, that film was a massive flop because no one watched it. I think that's why. That's the other thing, too. If people ever are like, why didn't this film get nominated? Why didn't this? Most likely it's because people just didn't watch it. So they didn't even think to put it out there. So, yeah. But interesting about Julian Dillinger, I've not seen Tron Ares, and so I actually don't know if that is accurate or not. I think Prince Screen is saying it is. All right. Oh, here is a very important one for a lot of people. All right. This is one where there could have been more nominees. There could have been more. There were definitely some numbers behind some people, but only 5 of them were actually at this level of getting the level of support that they got, okay? And so I didn't feel it was right, because if I had to extend it to 6, I would then have to extend it out actually even more, because the 6th, 7th, and 8th most vote getters were all within a couple of votes of each other. It's like, I don't want to go too crazy with this, right? It's like if it's a category here and there, we're adding, a 6th nominee for, that's fine. But for this one, again, it could have been a lot more, but there were 5 that actually did stand out, and there's some history being made this year, guys. Okay, and if you've been watching for a while, you might pick up on it pretty quickly. But anyway, our nominees for Shill of the Year, a category that Jeremy, who Geeks and Gamers, has won. Last year, John Campia won for the first time, nominated every year, won for the first time. And a bunch of other people over the course of the last 8 years have won this award. But there are 5 shills that apparently for the community have stood out. A small apology to at least one person on this list, because I don't know them very well, but I know of them. And apparently the people have spoken and said that they are a shill. So our nominees for Shill of the Year are as follows. Starting off with that one. Nick from Echo Base Network. Nick, I don't know what you did, man, but there was a bunch of people every Nick from Echo Base, and it was all within a similar time frame. They were nominating for other things, and so that's why it's I don't think it was just the same person to copy and pasting their nominees. Luckily that didn't happen this year. But man, yeah, Nick from Echo Base Network got a lot of attention this year. So I don't know what his take was, but whatever it was, the people think you are a show for it. We also have this year Shad M. Brooks, a fellow panelist on FNT. Now, I kind of get this one a bit more because of some of the takes that Shad has had on some really bad movies. He's been one of the persons defending some of the pretty bad movies that we've had in 2025. But it was just interesting that then turned into a lot of nominations here for him. So nominee for Shill of the Year 2025, Shad M. Brooks. James Gunn. This one's not a surprise. Definition of shill because of the fact that he says, oh, it's the best thing ever. Oh, man, it's the best thing ever. Oh, man. He shills for his own stuff like no one's business. But we have 2 other nominees. Chris Stuckman. This guy. He's been on and off this list for most of the 8 years. He's usually somewhere between a shill and an NPC nominee. Ever since he decided to get rid of his worst films of the year and just shill for films in Hollywood just so that he can get his movie made, and then the movie ends up just not doing much of anything. Sold his soul. So always appropriate, I think, to see him on this list. And our last nominee for Shill of the Year, Chris Gore. Ooh, man, people were harsh this year, guys. People were harsh this year. You got 2 people who most people universally are like, ugh, like James Gunn, Chris Stuckman. But then you got people from our community now. Again, this is interesting because I was in the eyesights of a lot of people the last couple of years, right? So I've been nominated in this category. Jeremy, of course, nominated at least a few times. Didn't he win twice, 2 years in a row or something? But yeah, for this year, it was people really focused on Nick from Echo Base Network, Shad M. Brooks, and Chris Gore. Again, I love Chris Gore. I watch he and Alan Ng's Friday show, especially, almost every week. And it was one of my most watched channels, actually, of last year. And the YouTube Rewind stuff that you get. And so I was sad to see his name on here, but it got a lot of attention. So, yeah, no Blaine. People were kind of thinking, oh, is Blaine from Criticlist going to get on here? Didn't get enough support. Only got really a few nominations, so not anywhere in the same category. And there were some others too that were definitely being considered here. So yeah, Shill of the Year, always a big one. And these are our nominees. And I'll just keep it on the screen because I know that this was one that a lot of people were waiting on. And so we'll actually jump back into the chat as well. So let's see where we left off. Let's see. General Winks are saying, well, kids are dumb these days. They have smaller attention spans. This is definitely true. Prince Screen, definitely have to agree with Julian Dillinger being annoying and Tron Ares. He was a beta male. Okay. Glad to hear some validation on that. Cthulhu. So Odin wins Shill of the Year for Godzilla -0 in 2026. Tune in next time. Omega fans have spoken, says Banjo Sandwich. Dang. Oh, man. Shad will die on the Twilight Hill. He will. Yes, indeed. Geek Truth. These Shills of the Year nominees feel like a troll. They are, and again, it feels like that for Echo. Again, I don't know what Echo Base has done. I don't know what take he had that just ticked some people off. For Shad, it actually makes sense. If you watch Friday Night Tights, that one actually does make sense to me, okay? Chris Gore, I don't understand that one. Because he does, what films does he shill for? He likes films and he dislikes films. I mean, Forever Sci-Fi. Stuckman shilling for Loan Sharks is up there. Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely. People need to remember that recently, like this past year, last couple months, Chris Stuckman has put in ads in his videos, which, again, took up a huge portion of his video, by the way, for both online gambling and also for loan sharks. Yep. How the mighty have fallen. Mikey Dreamer. RMB gets nominated for NPC, but Campia doesn't get nominated for either NPC or Shield. Yeah, Mikey Dreamer. He got it, man. This, I believe, is the first year ever that John Campia is not nominated for Shill of the Year. After winning it last year, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Last year, he became the bride. Very appropriate for him, right? He became the bride and won. Did not get nominated. I will say, based on the numbers, he was not even going to be close to a 6th spot. He was lower than a couple other people that didn't make it, that almost made it. Juno Winks are saying, this is a different list, that's for sure. Where is Jeremy when you need? I know, this is a very different list. Like, we've had some people who have almost been on the list every year, or usually come up in some capacity. This is a lot of first-time nominees this year. Caveat ties, where's Blaine? Again, just a few. He was not even in like the top 7 or 8. The Morax thing, I think Shad takes on Twilight and AI drove his nomination. It definitely drove some of it, but I think there was also, because didn't he also have some positive things to say about Alien? I think that may have been, I'm sorry, not Predator. I think that may have been one. General Wings are saying, I can't vote for Shill because I don't know what they will be shilling for. Yeah. Chris Stuckman's the easiest one, I think. And James Gunn. James Gunn shills for himself. Hardway saying, loan sharks have ads now. So it's like a loan shark app. It's an app where you can get loans like guaranteed for like a fee. And it's like, so basically it's a loan shark app. If you want a good breakdown of this, look up EFAP. Look up EFAP, Mahler, right? Look up Mahler's content because they have a whole panel that they did on Chris Stuckman. And they go through those ads. Jonah Wings are saying, what about Grace Randolph? Yeah, Grace Randolph. She's actually more... people need to realize she's been much more inconsistent on at least the Ravens list. She's usually kind of mentioned. I don't even know if she got nominated this year. Like, I don't think that anyone even nominated her this year. If they did, it was like maybe 1 or 2. And then Prince Green saying, John Campia was blacklisted from the Ravens after we found his Transformers review from 2009. Well, I think after he won, people are like, okay. The big thing is, didn't he leave YouTube? Like, it wasn't like a big thing. It was like, oh, I'm giving up on the YouTube side, but we're still gonna, or like he hid behind his members or something. He did something where it's like he ran away a bit, right? Yes, he was. Absolutely, he was. Yes. Yeah, Tom was up there, probably for his takes on Superman. But he was definitely close, very close to being on the list. He was one that was like fighting with a couple other people where it's like, again, I don't want to expand this out to 8 people, but yeah, it was crazy. Keely Chow, what's going on? Welcome. All right. Anyway, thought people were going to have a lot to say there, so that's why I wanted to make sure that we got those out there. Yeah, those are our nominees for Shill of the Year. So again, apologies to Nick from Echo Base Network. Again, I still don't know what you did. Shannon Brooks, I know what you did. You know what you did, okay? James Gunn, Chris Stuckman, those are clear winners there. And again, for Chris Gore, it's like I don't get it. I don't understand. I love Chris Gore. All right, most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film. These are the films that get a lot of praise from either audiences or from the critics. But in reality, they're just bad. They're just awful films, okay? So they might be critically acclaimed in some way, but they're just bad. So our nominees for this year are One Battle After Another, critically loved, but a lot of problems. Predator Badlands, similar story there. Sinners, very similar story there. Thunderbolts, a lot of people like this film for some reason. And lastly, James Gunn's Superman. Congratulations. This is a perfect list, almost, I think. There's not a film on here that I disagree with. I think they all really fit it very well, right? Where either they got a lot of critical praise or audiences were eating it up, and it was just like, why? I mean, just what's the deal? So again, for Sinners, it's like I thought vastly overrated. Thunderbolts, James Gunn, Superman, again, just awful stuff. Awful stuff. Great list here. Congratulations, everybody, on y'all's nominations. I think y'all understood the assignment for this one. Very, very good stuff. All right, next category is the most overrated film of the year. All right, I love these next two categories, right? Because we have the most overrated and then the most underrated. So we get to talk about films that we think got too much love and then those that didn't get enough. And then just not get enough. So here are nominees this year for most overrated film of 2025. The nominees are Sinners. Oh, yeah. James Gunn's Superman. One Battle After Another. Thunderbolts. And Fantastic Four, First Steps. Congratulations. Some similar names, right? There's usually some crossover, right, between most overrated and critically acclaimed piece of garbage, but Fantastic Four was able to step in here because it definitely got a lot more praise than I think it ever deserved. So definitely glad to see that on this list. But yeah, Sinners, James Gunn, Superman, for sure, vastly overrated. One Battle After Another seems to be, that audience versus critic mentality. And then Thunderbolts too, right? Just got so much more praise than it had any right to. All right. So those are definitely the most overrated films of the year. All right. Probably my favorite of the two, honestly, is the most underrated category, because usually films that I've not seen or films that don't get a lot of attention get some love here. So it's always really cool to see these. All right. So our most underrated films of the year are Ballerina, Primitive War, The Life of Chuck, The Amateur, Good Boy, and sixth nomination, My Dead Friend Zoe. Congratulations to these films. Again, interesting because I don't think Ballerina was a great film. I enjoyed parts of it, but I could see why. I think some people saw some of the hate it was getting and then said, oh, I had fun with it. So got some nominations for sure. Primitive War, of course, got a lot of love. Not surprised to see a lot of those fans continuing to push it here in this category. I was happy to see Life of Chuck. I actually really enjoyed that film quite a bit. Not a lot of people saw it, but I did enjoy it. So Life of Chuck got on there. Two films, and then the bottom three are films I have not seen. So The Amateur, I know very little about it, but it was getting some support. Good Boy was the one I did not want to see because it deals with like demonic possession and a dog. So it's like, not my thing. But apparently got a lot of love here as being underrated. And then My Dead Friend Zoe also got some attention here too. Now, I think some people might look to say, okay, didn't that, because if you look at the official release date, it did get released at one point in 2024, but it's a U.S. release date. It was not until 2025. And so we go by U.S. release date for our nominations. And so, yeah, a lot of things spread around here, but it's always cool to see films that either I've not seen or just I know got very little attention sneak in here. All right. Let's see. Since the chat is slow tonight, we'll pull this up soon. Let's see. King and Rumsky over on Green Machine saying, shill of the year just isn't the same without Jeremy. Yeah, I think he got a couple of nominations, but there was nothing for him to shill for this year. Don't worry. He'll come back with a vengeance next year because guess what? We have Mario. We have a Mario movie this year, and Lord knows he's going to shill for that film until the cows come home. Mikey Dreamer says here, Campia said he was going to retire last year, but then he signed a new deal, so he's at least going for another year. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So it's probably like a bargaining chip on his behalf. Good grief. Cthulhu, I sympathize with Grace because I think that if you walk out of a bad movie, you have every right to write an official review stating such. Yeah, I mean, I'm mixed on that. I am mixed because I don't give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think she deserves that, for one. But two, yeah, if it's such a bad film that you walk out, I think that does garner part of the review. I think the issue is that if you're going to be an official reviewer that has their reviews then featured on sites like Rotten Tomatoes, again, if Rotten Tomatoes was serious, if it was actually something I took seriously, I might actually care about that. But because I don't take it seriously, it's like, I don't see why, why still having her review there is that big of a deal. General Wings are saying, I'm going to get stuck with knives for that category. I see. Killy Chow, again, hail to you. Everyone's doing fine. And we actually, oh man, for dinner that night, we did pizza, actually. We did home pizza. I forget the brand, though. Jonah Wingster, isn't Sinners just discount modern from dusk till dawn? It's what a lot of comparisons are. K24 saying Fantastic Four is overrated. I liked it, but most people just viewed it as fine. Yeah, but there were people, again, look to the critic reviews for that film, a lot higher than it had any right to be. And I think that's also another film that, didn't Shad also defend that one? Maybe that was another one. Mikey Dreamer saying, I did like The Amateur. It's a remake of the 1981 film. One of the few times a remake is better than the original. Oh, dang. That is rare. Harvey saying, do you think that Don Lemon might be a strong contender for NBC of the Year next year? I think after his recent actions, he probably should be. And then Kimberly G saying, Jeremy will have to shill for The Odyssey as well. Oh, you're right. You're right. You know what? His love of Nolan, I think, surpasses his love of Mario. So yeah, he's definitely going to shill hard for that film too. Totally agree. He goes with like the one safe movie in Tenet to go after and be like, I don't hate every film. Look, I hate Tenet. It's like, yeah, that's the film like universally gets panned. And that's more so because of how bad the sound design objectively was on the film. But anyway, let's jump back into it, guys. All right. So this is one that I always go back and forth because the title of this one is such a mouthful, but I love it and hate it at the same time, okay? Because there's a lot to say, but I also love it because it's so ridiculous and people hate it. People are like, why can't you just call it something else? But I think potentially, maybe, might get a vote from the community on this one is to rename this one as Best Unoriginal Film versus Worst Unoriginal Film. Because all of that really is encapsulated in remake, reboot, sequel, prequel, right? It's unoriginal. So thoughts on making this the best unoriginal film of 2025 or the best or the worst unoriginal film of 2025. But as such, we're not there yet. We are still with this category. So our best pointless remake, reboot, sequel, prequel, because at the end of the day, aren't they all pretty much worthless and useless? But some of them are actually good. Some of them actually are good films. We don't really need them, but hey, there's some that are good. So our nominees are Final Destination Bloodlines, The Naked Gun, The Wedding Banquet, Happy Gilmore 2, and Frankenstein. One of the things I like about this category is that we tend to get some very obscure nominations, films that most people wouldn't consider to be like the best movie, but in this category of, oh, well, as a sequel or as a reboot, as whatever it is, right? There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be supported. So yeah, a lot of things here that are interesting to see, right? I actually did have some fun with Final Destination Bloodlines. I thought it was kind of a return to form in many ways. It wasn't a perfect film, but some fun to be had. Naked Gun, I liked better than I thought I would, but it was also, again, not quite up there for me. But I think for this category, I would say so. Wedding Banquet was the odd one. It randomly came out of nowhere, but got enough support, got enough love. Happy Gilmore 2, definitely better than I thought it was going to be. And then Frankenstein, probably the most serious of the films on this list. But again, always interesting to see what makes it onto this list. All right, and then, of course, we have our worst remake, reboot, sequel, prequel of the year. So our worst unoriginal film of 2025. And our nominees are Snow White, finally getting some love, or should I say some hate here. Captain America, Brave New World. Jurassic World Rebirth. James Gunn's Superman. And Tron Ares. Very strong list here. And yeah, I would definitely think that these are some of the worst unoriginal films of 2025 for sure. Some pretty bad ones on there. All right, best low budget film. Again, one of my favorite categories because it's one thing to talk about, our favorite movies of the year, but if we say, all right, now think about films that cost less than like $40 million. It makes you think a bit more. It really focuses the mind a bit more. And so there's usually some pretty good films that make it on to this list right here. And so we have our nominees and also how much the budgets were as well. So our nominees for best low budget movie are Warfare, which cost only $20 million to make. Primitive War, which cost $7 million to make. Good Boy, which only cost $70,000 apparently. Did not know that. Bring Her Back, which cost $15 million. And Sketch, this was from Angel Studios' distribution arm, and apparently only had a budget of $3 million. I've heard good things about it too. Congratulations to our nominees here. Again, always interesting to see. There's films like Bring Her Back, which didn't really get much attention in any other category, but people clearly brought their minds to it when they thought, hey, films that cost less than a certain amount of money. Warfare is one that I love that film so much. It's so strong. It's so good. Primitive War, again, continues to get this love, but also cool to see a film like Sketch on here too, right? Which likely wouldn't have gotten really any other attention except for the fact that it had a low budget. So again, always love these categories. So congratulations to our best low budget films of the year. All right, best story in film. These are what we think, not just the best movies, but movies that had really good stories. Were well written, at least according to the people. So our nominees this year are Sovereign, Warfare, F1, Frankenstein, and Weapons. So congratulations to our best stories in film. Again, from the people. I thought Weapons ending just kind of really ruined it for me. I felt like the writing for the ending was actually pretty rough because there's a certain concept in the film that needs to be explained in order for anything else to make sense. And because they didn't, it's hard for us to know whether or not they're actually following their own rules. And that's one of the reasons why I hate it. And that's a writing issue. But apparently people really enjoyed it for the writing. And so, yeah, Sovereign was kind of like this underdog where it was just getting a lot of love in very specific categories. So definitely a film on my list of things to see for that very reason. Cool to see Warfare and F1 on here, of course. Frankenstein also has its lovers, its supporters. And then, yeah, Weapons getting onto this list as well. All right, let's go to the comments real quick. See what y'all are saying. We got Justin C., who said, I saw and nominated The Life of Chuck. Was pleasantly surprised with how good it was. I contained multitudes. Thanks for the recommend. Absolutely, dude. Yes. It's a film that I want to watch again. Definitely on my list there. Hardwick saying, Sinners was essentially an inversion of both the Prodigal Son story and the vampire stories in the vein of Bram Stoker, turning the messengers of both on their heads. Yeah, I think that for that reason, for a couple others, people, saw some anti-Christian stuff in there, especially with there's the sequence with the Our Father as well, where it's like, ugh, I don't know about that. Geek True saying, random question. Since Nolan came up, did you like Oppenheimer? No, I thought that was vastly overrated. There were things I liked. Again, objectively, there's some really cool things. The cinematography was beautiful. The score is really good. There's some visuals that are very, very strong. Nolan is a very talented filmmaker. But, and I mention this every time, though, all the sexual stuff added in really, honestly, destroyed the film for me. Because it had other issues with, the time jumping and everything. It was just very, okay, this is just a bit of a mess. But that stuff especially just took me so out of it, where it's Nolan came up with these. These were not things where it's oh yeah, this is something that happens directly in the same exact way in this person's life. No, instead it's hey, let's just turn this into a thing. It's Nolan had to think of that, and say, yeah, let's film it this way. It's ridiculous. All right, the Morak saying, Alan Ning had very positive reviews for My Dead Friend Zoe. Saw it on that. It was a really strong movie. Again, that's what I've been hearing. General Waynes are saying, I could be edgy too. I think Dark Knight Rises sucks. For some reason, that should be an easy one, but Jeremy still defends that one too. Caritas did not like Happy Gilmore 2. Look, it wasn't as good as the first film, but it was better. It was better than like. That's why I said it that way. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Geek64 saying Naked Gun wasn't bad, not great. And how's Frankenstein a nominee? Strange nominees. Because it is a remake. Because it was seen as one of the best. That's a good thing. That means it's one of the best remakes. Because it's not just about a sequel. It's about a prequel, requel. That's why it's the best unoriginal film. Because it's adapting a script, basically. Worst remakes is a strong category. I totally agree. Totally agree there. The Morak Disney, again, dominating the worst reboot, sequel, remake category. No surprises, right? J.S. Pena, trying to say here, I think Nick from Echo Base Network was nominated because I saw his Tron Ares video, and he was very snappy to people who were disagreeing with him about the film not being that bad. Oh, okay. I figured there was going to be at least one movie where it's like he just completely went to bat for. General Wingster, Gandalf, I like Begins more, but I do enjoy the Dark Knight duology. Yes. Begins is a strong film. Cthulhu, Naked Gun was fine, but without the facial acting that Leslie Nielsen showed off so well in the first 3 films, it felt half-baked. Liam Neeson is like Samuel L. Jackson. He can only act as himself. And I think it, for the most part, worked. Surprise, Marty Supreme is not receiving a lot of love. I mean, I think it's definitely a film that came out a little bit later in the nomination process, so that could be why. Banjo Sandwich saying, bingo just got harder. Yes, indeed. There are some very tough categories this year where it's like, okay, it's one thing for you to think, okay, where am I going to go with what I think is the best and the worst? But when you're trying to predict where other people are going to go, yeah, there are some crazy categories this year. Geek True saying, it's strange as a vet, movies like Warfare and My Dead Friend Zoe don't interest me. Again, I think that because I'm not a vet and many people aren't, right? That's maybe why we're even more intrigued, because with Warfare, it seems, and again, I wouldn't know, but the fact that you have a co-director who was a vet directing it to make sure it was more authentic, it just seems like a much more authentic take on what people can actually go through. And there's something compelling about that. J.S. Payne is saying, Good Boy is a haunted house movie with the main character being a dog, although I don't know if it has demonic possession. I haven't seen that yet. Well, I mean, they are directly connected with each other. That just, to put it more simply. But anyway, back to our nominations here. All right, Lifetime Achievement Award, a very important category. We've also, of course, added the addendum that this is not just about Lifetime Achievement. It's also about who we think is the most overlooked, is how we're, we try to prioritize people who are overlooked, but it's also Lifetime Achievement. So it's who are some of the best people ever. It's our way of also having a bit of an in memoriam, because our typical nomination list are people who may have been recognized very well, but were also who have recently passed on. And so it's our way of honoring them too. So, our Lifetime Achievement nominations this year, our most overlooked person this year, I think it's a very good list because we did lose a lot of good people, especially in the acting world this year. One of which I actually had either forgotten or just didn't hear about because of the holiday season. And I'm kind of just like taken aback by it. He's the last one on the list, but our nominations this year are Gene Hackman, Tony Todd. He was the one who gave the very beautiful line from, of all films, Final Destination at the very beginning of the night. Ozzy Osbourne, Graham Greene, and Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. I had either forgotten or just not heard that Shang Tsung had passed away. Actually, no. It's one of those things where it's like, you're like, I can't believe that he's actually passed, but it's okay. Now it's starting to come back to me a little bit. But yeah, the grandpop from Johnny Tsunami. That's what I was growing up with, right? Of course, Shang Tsung as well from Mortal Kombat. Iconic character, iconic performance. Love this actor. The fact that you can see him do that and then also do be Johnny Kaba, be Johnny Tsunami himself, as the grandpop of Johnny Kapahala, right? Growing up with that stuff, man, he was so cool. So a very strong list though, right? Of a lot of people that a lot of people, of course, have a lot of love for. Again, not necessarily people that are overlooked by everybody, but people that we want to remember, right? Graham Greene, I don't know enough about his filmography, but definitely glad to see, people like him, right, to make it onto this list. So that way, because he might have been overlooked by some, even by me. But yeah, great list of nominees this year. And may the souls of the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen. Okay, now we're to our biggest categories of the year. Let's try and get through, because I'm sure there's some comments for that one. Let's see. Micah Dreamer saying Marty Mauser would have gotten the most annoying character if more people had seen Marty Supreme before nominations closed. That's a very good point. Jess Pena, also happy 30th anniversary to From Dusk Till Dawn. Britt Screen, totally forgot Gene Hackman died this year. I feel like it was so long. I know, seriously, it's crazy, right? His soul is God's now, says General Wingster. Amen. All right. So, as I mentioned before, we have a stacked list this year. There were so many bad movies in 2025 that the amount of nominations for a variety of films was pretty palpable. And so I figured if our best category has usually 10 nominees, it makes sense for us to have a large group of nominees as well for the worst films of the year. And so our worst films, the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence Crap World Building, or in other words, our worst films of the year. Our nominees are James Gunn's Superman, War of the Worlds, The Electric State, G20, remember that one? Cleaner, Snow White, One Battle After Another, Mickey 17, and Avatar, Fire and Ash. Let's just say a wonderful list of nominees this year. You all know I was very happy to see that last one make it onto the list, and luckily there was enough support behind it. So yes, indeed, some pretty bad movies on this list. Snow White, of course. Oh, what trash! Happy to see it get enough love here, enough hate here, I should say. G20, a film that people may have forgotten came out. Man, oh man, that movie was so bad. Most people almost collectively think that War of the Worlds is objectively the worst film of the year. I've not seen it yet. I've heard terrible things. Mickey 17 was such a disappointment, so I'm happy to see that on this list. But what's interesting is that MCU got shut out this year. I mean, that shows you just how bad this is, right? How bad of a year it was. There was so many other films that could have and should have made it onto this list. These are just a list of really bad films. Really bad films. So congratulations to our worst movies of 2025. Again, our nominees for the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence in Crap World Building, one of my favorite titles that we're always going to keep. Okay, and that brings us then to the peak of this evening. And again, thank you all for watching tonight. We'll get through some comments towards the end after all this is done, and then we'll wrap things up there. So our nominees for Best Movie of the Year. These are the films that y'all thought were the best. The best of the best. And we do have actually 10 nominees this year, which we usually do. I try to have as many as we possibly can. And, if there's years where there is very little support at the bottom end of the listing, then I usually get the support of the critical list community. There's a Ravens Award committee over there that helps me kind of finalize some last things. Luckily, didn't need that really this year because they were pretty close overall. But yeah, we have our best movies of the year. But before then, let's see what y'all said about the worst films. So Winnie Hunter saying, I forgot about Mickey 17. Most people did. Mikey Dreamer saying, Graham Greene character best known for Dances with Wolves. Okay. Green Mile, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Wind River, among... Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, okay, yeah. Wind River, such a great film. I'm starting to remember, yeah. Definitely, that's why I said I think he's so appropriate for that category, because I don't think a lot of people would even think of him, really. So, really cool to see him on there. Keith64, the last 5 years in film has got to be the most consistent amount of disappointments and destructions of IP in my lifetime. It's been so bad. River Sci-Fi said, I loved watching Graham Greene on the Red Green Show. Nice. Cthulhu also had mentioned Graham Greene was a wonderful character actor. Always remember all the great parts he played. It just always came off as a kind man you wish you knew in real life. Again, that's why I really think it's so appropriate that he's made it onto that list. Be interesting to see who wins that one, because I think it's, again, so many people. So many amazing people. And we had some really bad movies, but we also had some good films too. And these are the films that were chosen by the community. So our nominees for the best movies of 2025 are F1, Warfare, Frankenstein, Sinners. That's right, Sinners made it onto the list. Weapons, a Minecraft movie. I told you they had a lot. They had a lot of support in this year's show, in this year's balloting. A Minecraft movie. Marty Supreme. People were asking, where was the love? Hey, it was for this category. Good Boy. My Dead Friend Zoe. And lastly, John Candy. I Like Me. A phenomenal documentary about an amazing actor and person. If you've seen the documentary, John Candy, was so happy to see that film get enough support, and great list of films this year, but a very interesting list as well, right? A lot of films on here that let's just say I would not have put on my top list, but that's why it's not about me. It's about what y'all think. So, obviously for me, F1, Warfare, maybe to some level, Frankenstein, again, I had issues with it, but overall, wouldn't fight against it. Sinners, vastly overrated in my mind. Weapons, again, the ending kind of ruined it for me. A Minecraft movie, Lord spare me. Marty Supreme was actually pretty good. Good Boy, haven't seen, but again, got some support. Definitely had its supporters. My Dead Friend Zoe, similar story there. And then John Candy, I Like Me, definitely one of my favorite films of last year, for sure. Not just a great documentary, but also just a great film. I recommend it highly. But yeah, let's just say it's going to be very interesting, because typically I like to have streaming parties for the nominees, especially for best movies of the year, and typically the ones that are films people were not able to see. So that looks like I might be forced almost to have to watch films like Good Boy, and I probably won't watch some of the films again. Like I probably won't watch the Minecraft movie again or Sinners again. But if y'all need to watch them, then I will definitely put those onto the list of those movie watch parties. So yeah, those are our nominees for this year's Raven Awards. Thank y'all again for putting y'all's nominations out there. I'll have a list of all the nominees posted on the website, ombreviews.com, probably sometime tomorrow as well. And the ballot to start voting for the best and worst, if you are already ready to go with those choices, will go live sometime tomorrow. Just got to get the Forum Bricks form updated. And whereas best movie of the year, just like in previous years, it will be ranked. So you'll put your number 1 film all the way through number 10. And it'll be based off of who has the strongest overall support, right? We do the ranked choice voting there. And the worst film of the year, though, will still just be who has the most votes total, okay? Because I'm not going to make y'all do that for 2 categories. That'd be a little bit too mean, I think. But yeah, some really strong nominees this year in various categories, and as always, a very interesting combination of films too. All right, let's go ahead and get our last comments in before we wrap things up this evening. Last Relic says, "Sorry, I'm late, fool of a took." Wendy Hunter saying, "Wow," for Beat Movies. Brian Barth thinks great nominations. Forever Sci-Fi saying, "John Candy always seemed like everybody's fun uncle. I don't think he actually played that character." No. General Wingster saying, "Can we watch Fire and Ash together, please?" No, I don't want to. I don't want it. Cthulhu, "I am impressed how the Ravens have a great slate despite how horrific this year's movies were." Again, I always am so amazed by the community to come together, right? You're not going to find a list like that at the Oscars, okay? And even though, as I said, I don't agree with some of the films on there, there's some films on there that I definitely do agree with that are not going to get any love, or if any, very little love. Like Warfare especially, I doubt would get a Best Picture nomination. But that's why we boycott them. That's why the Oscars have not mattered so long. J.S. Pena says, "I almost forgot about Mickey 17. Yeah. Geek True saying, "My favorite of the year is probably F1, but there are still several I need to see." F1, I think, is going to be that favorite. I really do think F1 is going to be one that a lot of people put at their number 1 spot. I don't think it's the best film of the year, though. I would put Warfare above that film. And I would probably put John Candy, I Like Me above that film, too. So it'll be very interesting to see. Because, yeah, you're going to have those people that are going to try to, force Minecraft to be better than what it is. But with that film, even if there's like a large contingent that kind of comes in, this minority population that comes in, probably like students and Gen Alpha and all this, like who like, oh yeah, but for the number 1 spot, just spam it. It's like, there's going to be more than enough people that are just not going to have it that high, even just organically going to have it probably in their like 8, 9, or 10 position, that it's going to even out pretty well. Mikey Dreamer saying, just so you can say you did some math, the official box office numbers of the weekend had the Lord of the Rings trilogy at 7, 10, and 11. Dang. For 20-plus-year-old movies, very impressive. Yeah, I was not able to watch those. They are extended editions, and the showtimes were terrible. They're not included in my AMC A-list either, so it's gay. I have those extended editions, and I could watch them at home, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful there, too. Those are films that I would love to go to theater. If there was a perfect showtime for it that worked, I'd make it work. But unfortunately, that is not how those showtimes typically work. But yeah, those are our nominations, everybody. So yeah, the Raven Awards, they're underway. We got our nominees. Ballot's going to be going out tomorrow, probably, hopefully. And then we'll have our winners March 15th. I made sure to look it up before the stream. Our Raven Awards will be held on March 15th. So we actually got some time. It's one of those years that we actually have, it seems at least like we have a lot more time between nominations and actual winners being announced. And so we have until March 15th to get these things taken care of. So lots of time to get your ballots submitted. As I said, I'll try to set something up, hopefully, over the next couple of weeks to get some playlists, some VLC playlists set up, and then have some watch parties set up in the Discord server, trying to get y'all some schedules out there too, so we all know when certain movies are starting and ending. I was able to get that figured out last year, and it seemed to work pretty well for a lot of people. And especially for films that people either have no access to or it's like very difficult to watch. So it's always very cool to kind of have that community, coming together to watch stuff together. And so yeah, join the Discord server if you are wanting or interested in something like that. You can find a link to that in the description below. You'll find a link to the link tree of all my links, and then you can find the link to the Discord to join. Just please make yourself known. If you try to name yourself something connected to the YouTube name, it definitely helps in that regard. So anyway, let's get to our last comments. Forever Sci-Fi saying night all. Okay, I say nice show. Have a great night. Again, sorry that Blaine did not get nominated. I totally understand why you would want him to be, but did not get enough support there. Joe Wingster, 25th anniversary watch for Fellowship this year. Again, timing is the issue. Jess Pena saying good night. Geek Truth saying looking forward to seeing Lord of the Rings back in theaters. Nice. Winner saying thanks for the great streams and have a good night. You too. Morak, great job with the Ravens. Excellent show tonight. Take care. Thank you very much. Joe Wingster saying, can we invite Wanda Sykes so we can laugh at how unfunny she is? Cthulhu, wish you all a great evening and a fantastic winter season. Absolutely, Cthulhu. We might actually get snow. I follow the YouTube meteorologist, Ryan Hall. Great channel, by the way. Ryan Hall, y'all. And he dropped a video earlier saying that there's this perfect condition of like a perfect winter storm that might be like the storm like to beat this year. And there's a chance, I think, of us getting some snow this coming Saturday, I think. So I'm very excited because I love snow. My family loves snow. Very excited, and hopefully that happens. Of course, I hope everyone is safe, especially if you're in the Great Lakes region. They've just been getting pounded with inches and feet of snow. So definitely want to pray for anyone who's stuck in those types of conditions. But obviously also for those that love snow, for us to be able to get some. Surprised Steven didn't show up tonight. I know, seriously. He would have been dropping so many questions. And it's like, bro, I can't get to those. All right? We got nominations to get into. All right, I wish I had ice cream, but I don't, unfortunately, Keely, but appreciate you bringing those up. Justin C., you have a good night. Prince Screen, you have a good night. General Wingster, again, thank you very much for being here. All right, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I love you all very much. Always glad when it is Raven Awards season, so be on the lookout for that ballot drop sometime tomorrow and start to get your nominations in. Start to watch anything you need to watch still to have an informed decision. And the nominations will be listed on my website tomorrow as well. So thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now let me give a shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my Patreon members, Father Luca Illick, hail to you, Father, and also to Miss Mountain Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Mountain Muses. She is very lovely, great, awesome Catholic faith-based content over there. You'll also find over on Subscribestar my member Matt317. He is on Twitch with the same channel name, Matt317. Shout out to you, good sir. And also to a longtime member here, Mr. Roy, my Chosen of Valhalla member here on YouTube. Mr. Roy, thank you for always hanging out and for always being a part of this channel. It does mean a lot, as well as it does for all of my Chosen of Valhalla members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream or video, or if you want it listed in that list that was playing just before, just now, check out the top link in the video description below. You'll find out how to get those types of shout outs at the end of every live stream and video. Not to mention, you get access to bonus video content and also access to a Discord server where there are a couple of channels on there where I do giveaways every single month. In fact, I do multiple giveaways every single month. I try to make it so that I'm giving away Blu-rays and 4Ks that make up at least 4 or 5 different giveaways. Sometimes I have to put them in all towards the very end because back in the school session, of course, now means that I'm going to be a little bit more delayed there. So if you want access to things like that, if you want access to a great community, you guys seriously are all amazing and beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.